G'day, it's Donna here again with another process video from Craft With Us Oz. Today I'm making this thank you card, which is actually a redo of a card that I did years ago. I decided to challenge myself and I started with this piece of 12 by 12 inch cardstock, paper it is actually, that I think I've had for probably 5 years. So I've used this as my colour palette, and then I went through my scraps and found ones to match it. So you can see I've got that lovely pink dotty piece that coordinates with it. The darker pink there, which you can't actually see but coordinates with the darker pink of some flowers in that strip. Yeah, there's some darker ones in there. Then I've also got, this is a taupe type colour that you can see also matches beautifully with the paper there. Now once again, this green, it matches with the vine that's in that little piece where the flowers are that you can't see. Now this particular piece is a bit of an odd choice, but it had similar type of colours, so I thought that I might be able to, use it with it. As it turns out, I didn't in this card, but then I've got this other pink of a piece of pink paper. It's got the chevron design on it. That's got the darker pink as well as the lighter pink. So it's also a lovely match for this piece of paper. So we'll just stack all of those up together. Move them aside in a minute. There is a couple of other pieces that I also included with my choice of colours, and that of course is my card bases, which would be white cardstock and some black cardstock as well. So to start off with, this is the card that I initially made years ago that I never sent to anyone. It was an awkward size. I didn't have an envelope to match, and I wasn't really happy with it. So that's what we're going to make over today. We're going to start with an A5 piece of paper that I've cut in half lengthways, folded it in half, and then we're going to fold one half of that up again to make an A6 size Z fold card. So you can see how that works there. I then cut out the letters for the word thank you. Now I cut 3 of each letter. I used some Spellbinders dies that I've had, alphabet dies that I've had for, once again, probably 5 or 6 years. And I'm just stacking them on top of one another, just gluing them together using my fine point bottle. Now I've just filled this bottle with some Aleene's tacky glue with a tiny bit of water to make it, just a little bit runnier. And you can see that all I'm doing is stacking them up, making sure they're lined up. I'm not going to make you sit and watch all of these. There they are. They're all done. The magic of video. So we'll just move those aside for the moment, and we're going to get on with making the card. So you can see I've got my card base there. I've got my base mat, which is 10.2 centimetres by 14.5 centimetres. And the one that's going to go on the folded piece on the top is 7 centimetres by 10.2 centimetres. So all I'm doing here is just running the tape around the outside. So I use double-sided tape. The reason that I do this is I'm a bit of a control freak, or, everything has to be just perfect. So I like to use the tape rather than the double-sided tape rather than a tape runner, because this gives me the ability to position it before I remove all of the tape to make sure that it's nice and straight. So I do this by, you'll see in a moment, that I start to actually lift a little bit of the tape from 2 of the corners. So here I am lifting it from one corner. So I pick up both pieces in the corner, and then I go to the diagonally opposite corner and pick up the other 2 pieces of tape. This way I can then put my card, well, this is actually paper this time, on my cardstock base, and use the 2 corners that I haven't lifted the tape off of to move it around to make sure it's straight. And once I'm happy with it, I can then press the corners down where the tape has been lifted and then gently remove the tape from underneath. It works like a charm every time, and hardly ever do I have to pull it up and reposition it. Do the same with the top, but once again, I do it exactly the same way. So now I've cut 9 pieces of white cardstock, and each one is 3 centimetres by 3 centimetres. And these are going to be used as the base of my embellishments. what I have here is just a piece of packaging, in actual fact, came from a box, but I've just put masking tape all around the outside, and I use it as a base when I'm inking the edges. So you can see that I've got some Stampin' Up! Ink here, and I'm just going to very, very lightly with my little tool here go around the edges of these 3 centimetre by 3 centimetre pieces. This just adds a little bit extra depth to the finished product. So I guess it's another little bit of dimension or an extra bit of texture. So I'm actually going to do that. You can see here the difference that it is. It's only very, very slight that I've done that. Once again, I'm not going to make you sit through it all. I've done all of that here now. So now what I've done is cut strips from where I wanted on from the designer paper, and you can see that each one of these pieces I've cut is 2.7 centimetres by 2.7 centimetres. So I've kept them in line, and I'm just going to design, put them together the way I want them. So I got this design feature from that card that I made years ago. It had the 9 pieces on the front. So I'm kind of doing the same thing here. And I'm just going to stick the pieces together. Just using a little bit of glue here because it's so much easier. It gives me a couple of seconds to just move it around to make sure it's straight. Putting tape on any of these would just take way too long. So, whoop, bit of a stumble. So I've cut them as I mentioned 2.7 by 2.7, so they're just a little bit smaller than my white square. So here are all of the pieces. Now I'm going to put them on front of my Z fold card. Now this is actually a little bit of a weird design here, but I think it looks quite good when it's finished. So I'm just going to line them up. I start with one corner and then the one right beside it. And then you can see that I've got the first column at the bottom corner. So this then enables me to fit all of the other pieces in place. And it'll keep it all nice and even. So let's start by sticking that first one down. That's me lining them up to make sure that they're absolutely perfect. So just a little bit of glue again on the back of this. I'll line the first one up. I'll stick it into place. I'm not sure if I show you on camera, but I used a ruler when I was lining these up and doing these because I ended up doing that. Once again, it's that perfectionist thing. Maybe a little bit of crafting OCD, who knows, that I need to make sure that everything is just perfect. So putting that all down in place. And I think, yeah, there's my ruler there. I've got a new one since then. All right, so here they are all in place, but I decided to not stick that one down there. So I'm actually going to put a little bit of more wording, and this is actually foiled, this piece. So I use this beautiful rose gold foil. So to do this, all I did is I typed that up on my computer. It says so very much. Then I printed it out on a bit of card on my laser printer. Now you cannot do this with an inkjet printer. It must be a laser printer. I've then cut the card out exactly the size that I wanted, and I have put the foil, this beautiful crafting foil, directly over the top. It's a rose gold, and I think that it blended beautifully with the colour of my card. I've then popped this through my laminator. Now my laminator has actually been on for probably a good 5 to 10 minutes at this point to make sure it's really nice and hot. So pull it out the other end of my laminator. It was just obviously automatically fed through. And you can see that all you need to do is, it's not hot, and you just very gently peel that foil off, and it's a little bit hard to see in the video, but that foil is now on top of that card. You can see that's a little bit of a shine as I spin it around there. So it's attached itself to the black printing from the laser printer. So that's the toner that it attaches to. So now what I'm going to do is, with all of my letters, you can see my thank you there, of course, I'm going to put glue to the back of them all, and I'm going to put them all over the front of the card. So you probably don't remember from the first card that I showed you, but I had thank you written across, THA and then NK underneath and YOU. So it wasn't all in a row, but you'll see how we put it together here. And then I've made that piece of card so it was 6 centimetres by 3 centimetres, so it would fit in there perfectly. that says so very much. You can see to make sure that I position that correctly, I've put my double-sided tape on the back. And I will just pull that off once I've positioned it correctly. Just double checking, lining it up. There we go. We'll pull that tape off. There we are. So I was really happy with how that all lined up. Now I'm just going to, you can see over in the bottom corner under the thank you so very much, I've added a couple of tiny hearts. So there's 2 black ones and one little gold coloured one. And I'm just putting some diamond glaze on top of all of the letters. And I did also put some on the black hearts that are over in the corner. You can see me doing that now. So a nice little embellishment there. So this card, inspired by the first card, is a different shape, totally different colours. I like to challenge myself and stretch myself every so often by using something in my stash that I haven't used for many years. And I'm really quite happy as to how this turned out. So you can see the difference between the two there. So why don't you challenge yourself, find something that you haven't used that's in your stash and pull it out and make your own little pack to work with. Thank you very much for watching today. I hope you've learned something and enjoyed this video. If you have, please give us a little thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Happy crafting!